Okay, this is a short video that shows the operation of the bucket tool. There's a bucket fitted in there at the moment, and there's our box of Porta Power pumps. So we're just going to show you the operation of it, starting from the very bottom and working our way through the functions. So first up, we're going to pump the pump. Gary's going to pump the pump that lifts the 4 bottom jacks. At the moment, there's a needle block fitted to the front. There's the needle block there. Gary's pumping, and you can see the front 2 jacks lifting right there. They're going up quite slowly. So if Gary stops pumping for a minute, I can close the front 2 like this. I can open the back 2 like that, and then if Gary pumps, the back 2 will go up, and that's how that one works. Very straightforward. That's the pump we're using to do that, vertical lift pump. Okay, so the next one up from there is our north-south movement. So we move on to our north-south pump, and by pumping that, we move it basically either that direction or back towards me. You can see there it's creeping away from us, nice and slowly with a degree of precision. See it moving away, and if Gary flicks the lever in the box, we flick the lever in the box back the other direction, and then we pump the other way, it'll come back towards me. And that's, at the moment, that's moving the whole bucket back in my direction now, just nice and gradually, so with quite a bit of control and precision, not fast. You can see those, we haven't got the socks covering the bearings up at the moment, and now if Gary's pumping it back towards its sort of home centre point there. Okay, so that'll do for that one. Now we move on to our east-west direction, which is this layer here, and that can move the bucket this way or that way, and Gary's going to pump in one direction there. She starts moving. Bit by bit. It's a two-stage pump. So you do have you can pump it fast, you get a lot, sort of high degree of travel. You pump nice and slowly, it'll just creep along. And there it's coming up to the end of its travel in a minute. Yep, and if he switches over the valve on the Enerpac on the pump and then continues pumping, it'll come back the other way. There's a little bit of bounce there. We've got to just tighten up the fitting that holds the ram in place. Okay, and that's east-west travel. Now the next one is bucket rotation, which turns the turntable. So it pumps this ram back and forth. So we'll pump that in one direction now. You see the turntable, you see the ram coming in. You see the turntable rotating, and that's fully in, fully retracted. Then we switch the handle over on the Enerpac, pump the other direction. See Gary pumping away, pumping on the bucket rotation pump there, and you can see that coming out, turning the bucket. Okay, so that's that one. The next one is bucket tilt, and so that focuses on this ram, and as you can see, this is only trial assembled, so we haven't finished putting everything together, but we can push on this ram and tilt the bucket 5 degrees. At the moment we're sitting on this stopper here, And if I go around here, the bucket is in pretty much a horizontal state. So it's the state which you would lift the bucket into. So if you were lifting either from some internal lifting lugs, or perhaps you put some dunnage around this one and lift from the clevis plates, then when you lift it in, you'll lift it in horizontally or vertically, straight down and into the cradle. Lock the pin in. We've got this pin here that goes over the teeth. These teeth are very worn, and if they were new, they would be, much larger and out here. So this pin goes in over the teeth, and then you can lift it to its 5. So at the moment it's sitting vertical, and then once we tilt it to 5 degrees this way, it'll be ready then to offer up to the hub of the bucket wheel. So at the moment you can see it sitting on one stopper, and then you can see the other stopper here which locks it in about the bucket at about 5 to 5.5 degrees. So we'll pump that now. So we've got our bucket lean pump there, and Gary will start pumping that. You see it's starting to roll over. There she goes. She'll start coming over, and she'll come over to the other stopper in a minute. There we go, and she's down on the other stopper. And now the bucket, you'll see the bucket is on the 5-degree angle. And that's basically where it is, where it needs to be to offer up to the hub of the bucket wheel. Now the other thing you do have, if you do need further adjustment in that direction by tilting the bucket, you could adjust the 2 pumps, the 2 rams on this side or the 2 rams on this side, and you could get some additional tilting of the bucket as well, like that. Now the next one and the final bit of movement that we do have is with this ram on the back here, and this ram here that activates this cradle that is holding the back of the bucket, and we'll pump that up now. Now I do need to say that this at this point in time when you're using the tool, you should have offered up the bucket to the wheel of the reclaimer. Fitted your pins in position by using all the movements you have down at the bottom of the tool. Put your pins in before you start lifting up the back of the bucket here. So the reason you lift up the back of the bucket is to mount those 4 holes, and it's going to lift much better, much safer if you put your main pins in first. Okay, you put those pins in, and then you come down here and you start jacking up the back of the bucket. And that essentially, the reason for that is if you're lifting the back of the bucket, you need to the back of the bucket needs to be lifted around a certain pivot point, and that really needs to be this pivot point here, and then you can lift up the back of the bucket. If you don't have the pins in and try to lift the back of the bucket, well, you don't have a pivot point. So something to keep in mind. You can see that ram is extending. The back of the bucket pushes that plate, sits on these 2 gussets at the top. But also what you'll find is that both of these plates here, this plate and this plate here, hug the bucket quite closely, and you'll find that as we push up, this will come in and wedge onto the plate of the bucket. The reason for that is because there's a taper in that plate. You can see that this wall here of the bucket is tapering up this way. So what you find is if you may hit the gussets may touch on the plate here, But if at some point in time they don't, well then the taper fits nicely on this plate, and this plate will grab it also and push the bucket upwards. So now if Gary lowers that ram down, that'll just creep back down into position. Now that ram does have approximately a 300mm long stroke. We didn't pump it all the way up there because, as I said, the pins up the top in the clevis plates should be in position before you push up the back of the bucket. There you go. That's the bucket tool. And that's the box with the pumps. Hosing's all